Hello and welcome to Infinity, the second of series 3, the second episode, that is.
Infinity is endlessness. It's unfathomable. You can't get your mind wrapped around it. There's just too much of it to comprehend. It eternally goes on forever. It's omnipotent and it's unassailable.
So, what makes it belong in the metaphysics camp then? Well, scientists don't like infinities. They renormalise them to get rid of them. And because they're so inconvenient and disliked and attempted to get rid of, they are therefore not explored. They're not accepted. They're not embraced or included in the great scheme of things. But nevertheless, they are indefatigably there. So therefore, they belong in the metaphysics camp because they're worthy of exploration. Infinity is a mess. It's a complete conundrum of infinite variables and possibilities and probabilities and problems, paradoxes and so forth that come about as a result of there being infinity in the first place. And this video is going to explore some of those elements of the infinity and its characteristics that you might like to explore further if you have an infinite resource of time, which of course you do, always, at any given moment. Time is on a constant loop system from past to present, and back again. The future loops in just like the past does. So it's future to present as well. Hence the infinity symbol. That's how we can make sense of the infinity symbol, by appreciating how the past and the future combine in their loop system format to create the present moment. We only perceive with our own minds, consciously, the present just after it's happened. So we're really constantly existing in the past. We don't actually comprehend the present. We only comprehend the slice of time that's just after the present. So our relationship with time in itself is a bit of a mess. And we can't compute how the future operates in creating those present moments. We see the past in operation. So the modus operandum of entropy and the way time flows for us consciously. So it is a bit of a jumble. I've drawn a light cone here because the light cone is itself a representation of time frame. The way light travels and the way light behaves in corresponding to time allows for all these variables to be taking place within the construct of the light cone itself. So in here you can look at superposition and even superdeterminism if we want to go into the metaphysical side of it, which we do, because we don't know how much is determined of the time frame that we operate within on a personal level. This wave is the waveform that we travel, the wave line we ride. We go through time in a series of ups and downs. Our emotional state corresponds to a wave. Sometimes we're high, sometimes we're low, and very often we're just sort of ticking along in the middle somewhere. Depends on our own personality, our circumstances, and what we're going through at the time. but it's constantly variable and it changes on a continuous basis. So as you can see from what I've described so far, infinity is simply a construct of time in which we manifest and everything around us manifests with a past future framework colliding, if you like, to create a present. And as you'll have noticed in your own experiences of life, no two moments are the same. Every single moment that we exist is slightly different from every other moment in which we exist. And this has yet to be addressed by physics. The concept of uniqueness is not really discussed in terms of quantum mechanics or physics at all at the moment. That's a sore point for me, and I think it really should be put right. So I'm looking forward to a time when we can actually get a handle on uniqueness. This is a representation of that past future time frame that I've just discussed. And it's pretty similar to a Feynman's diagram. You'll see on Feynman's diagrams that the little particles that are at each end of a diagram have a corresponding future to past, past to future sway. It's called advanced and retarded time, which is strange, but never mind, that's the description that was picked. But advanced and retarded time really is the same kind of construct of this past future interface that happens on a continuous basis in creating the infinity construct. All particles in their interactions and their decay and their world line and the space-time that they occupy are in this state of superposition between past and future timelines. It depends on which direction they are travelling for the purposes of physics, for the purposes of the maths. But essentially, superposition would have it that they occupy various levels of space-time during their world-line existence. Here, I've described entanglement visually, because entanglement, also known as non-locality, has a part to play, I think, in the infinity construct. There is debate as to whether entangled particles exchange information instantaneously, whether they breach the light speed constant, and whether or not the information is actually information, or whether it's some other kind of conduit that is held between these two entangled forms. There are various forms of entanglement that go well beyond particle physics, and we experience those entanglements in our own worlds, whether we conceive of that or not, whether we perceive it to be or not. We experience entanglements in our own world lines. We are essentially no different to quantum mechanical particles. We are very, very similar in the way we operate as individuals, as singularities, within the reality framework that we occupy. Parallel universes. I don't really like to describe them as parallel because I think that's a misnomer. The multiverse is more likely to be a construct of branes, branes, that coexist, that allow for superposition to be a reality. In superposition, occupying two states at once essentially means occupying two levels of reality at once, two energy states, two space-time positions. And this is only possible if a multiversal framework exists, because you have to have platforms for anything to exist within. And those platforms have to be constant. They have to be reliably there. They can't change from one thing to another. You either have a multiversal format or you don't. And to my mind, this is a very important point, because if we can accept the multiverse as being part and parcel of the infinity paradox, then really we can understand how easy it is for us to slide from brain to brain, from reality to reality. We won't perceive it, of course. This morning I was in a completely different state of mind and a completely different space-time world line to where I'm at now. Seamlessly, it seems, this happened. But of course, in reality, I could have ended up from that point to any point later today. I've ended up in this one. Very glad I have. But there could have been any number of variables as to where I ended up later in the day. So accepting this, accepting the variables, the superpositions, the constant provision of a multiversal framework at our disposal, does enable us to appreciate the changes and the shifts that we make through this framework day to day. We tend to forget that we're tangled up with infinity on an infinite basis, because we're stuck with the entropic system of existence. And that entropic system of existence holds us in an illusionary framework of time being sectioned, being categorized into little chunks. And of course, infinity, as we've just seen, doesn't really allow for this to be the case. It's much more accurate to say that we move through space-time phases, moment by moment. And as we live, as we exist, we are moving through these phases on an infinite variable of probabilities. Now, that might not seem the case to you. It doesn't always seem the case to me, I promise. But in actual fact, that is what is happening. We are moving through space-time on an infinity platform. Life. Enjoy, have fun, love you loads, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye.